Okay, we've previously looked at using an if function to make decisions about what goes in a cell. That can get kind of ugly sometimes. The more choices you have about what to put in a cell, the longer your nested if functions get. For example, if we're doing letter grades here and we're just doing A, B, C, D, F, we're not doing pluses and minuses. We need 1, 2, 3, 4 ifs to choose from among 5 things. In general, if you want to write an if statement that will, or nested if functions that will select from among any number of things, you're going to have one less if than the number of things that you're trying to choose among. So if we have to choose from among 5 things, we're going to have 4 ifs. Now, what do you want to do pluses and minuses? I've got another one here. We're going to unhide what's in column E here. And look at that. It's not doing A pluses, it's doing A minus, B plus, B minus, C plus, C minus, and then I'm not doing D pluses or D minuses either, otherwise it would be even longer. But that's pretty long. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 if statements to choose from among 10 different possible grades. Okay. Now, there's another way. We can use something called a lookup table in Excel. And a lookup table is simply a table where you have values that appear someplace else, like over here. And what I want to do is I want to take this value, I want to look it up in this table over here, and then go over one column and find out what the grade is and put that in. So I'm going to put another grade column here. And let's use our format painter here to make it look pretty. And then we use the VLOOKUP function. Okay. And actually, let's go to our formulas tab here. And there is no lookup function book here. And if you go down here, there's nothing. Okay. So what you have to do is you have to go to the insert function button over here. And then if you go down, there's a lookup and reference, but for some reason it's not on the tab. And the one we want is the VLOOKUP. There's a bunch of other ones here that are kind of interesting, but we're just going to do the VLOOKUP function. And we have to have a value that we're looking up. Okay, so that would be this person's average. And then I have to have a table that I'm looking it up in. And when you do this, you do not include the headings. The headings are there just for a person to read, but they're not here for Excel to use. So I tell it where my table array is, and then I tell it which column I go to find the grade that I want to return. Well, I want to go to column, this is column 1, and this is column 2. So I want to go to column 2. Okay? And there is one restriction here. The restriction is that the numbers over here in column H have to be in ascending order. And the way it works is like this. I'll look in this column until I find a 40. Let's take a different example. Let's take 80. So let's say I'm looking up an 80. I'll go until I find an 80, and then I'll go over to column 2 and I'll return a C. Now what about an 82? Okay. Well, these scores here are the minimum required to get a C, minimum required to get a C plus, and so on. So if you have a number that's not in the range here, but is in between two of them, like 82, it goes until it finds the first one that's greater than the number you're looking up. So the first one greater than 82, and then it backs up one, and then it moves over here. So an 82 would also return a C, which makes sense if 80 is the minimum value. So go ahead and do that, and it tells me that George is getting an A. And a 40 is obviously not an A. And here's the problem. We just made a simple mistake here. These numbers are actually, they're percents. Now if you go to your home tab though and just format them as ordinary numbers, they're all less than 1. Okay? So I'm looking for a number bigger than 40, and I actually end up going off the chart and going back and then finding out that it's an A. And so what I really meant to do here, either I got to change column C to percentages, or I've got to change column H to whole numbers, and I think it's easier to do column H. Actually, it's probably not. Let's try this little trick here. Let's try equals this divided by 100, and that'll change it to a percent for me. And if I copy that formula all the way down for all of my students on my list here, just went one too far, and then copy all of those to the clipboard, and then go over here, and what I want to do is I want to paste, not the formulas, because the formulas will mess everything up. I want to paste the values. And then I want to take those and format them as percents, and then I want to take this stuff and I want to get rid of it here and delete it. And let's go back and change these to percents. Now it messes up all of these, so I'm just going to delete those too. But it should look up the correct grades now for everybody. And it didn't. So what did I do wrong? Well, double click on this and it shows you that, that's kind of a bad one to double click on because it overlaps the table here. Let's double click on this one. And you see where my table is? Right here. That's not where my table is. My table is up here. So what did I forget? I forgot to put in the dollar signs up here. So put the dollar signs in on both of them. Hit the enter key. Now get your fill handle. Copy that all the way down. And that looks a whole lot better. Let's center that to make it a little bit easier to read. So 50% would be an F, 99 would be an A, 75 would be a D. We've got a lot of F's here. 90 would be a B plus. So it is looking them up right. If I double click on any one here, the green box is, the blue box is around the number right next to it, and the green box is always around the table over here. So that's one example of doing a VLOOKUP. Here's another example. Let's say you know the part number, which is in column A, and notice these are in ascending order, which is what you need. And I want to look up the part price and the name and the status. So I want to look up something in column 2 of the table, column 3 of the table, and column 4 of the table. So I want to do a VLOOKUP, and I should have my most recently used ones here, and click on VLOOKUP. And I need to tell it that the value is the part number right here. And the table array is this stuff over here. Which I've already given it a name to. It's table 1. And the column index number is going to be column 2. Click on OK. And it tells me that's an alternator, which is actually misspelled. But this is a spreadsheet I borrowed from Microsoft, so it's their fault. Okay, and then I want to look up the part name. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to do a VLOOKUP of G2 in table 1, but I'm going to go over 3 columns this time. And let's try copying this and see what we get. Do a Control C, do a Control V, and if I do a lookup, it changed that from G3 or G2 to G3, so I want that to stay. And I also want to go over to column 3 to find the part price. And so A002 is an alternator. It's $380, and I want the status. So let's copy that again. And let's paste it in. And I got some extra stuff in there. Let's get rid of that. So I want look up G2 in table 1, and I want to go to column 4. I put that in the wrong place. Let's do a Control Z. Go down here and do a Control C. No, let's not do a Control C. Let's drag the mouse over it and then do a Control C. And then go down here in the status box and do a Control V. And if you copy the text like this and paste in the text as opposed to just putting the cursor in the cell and doing a Control C, when you paste it in, it will not adjust any of the cell references. So the G2 does stay a G2. But I do need to change the 3 to a 4. And when I do that, it'll tell me that that's in stock. And now I can go up here and I can type in, let's do A014, which is an oil pump at $46.99, and it's in stock. And it automatically looked everything up for me. Try another example over here.